Hey everyone, this is Milo of the Oberlin Office of Environmental Sustainability, and today we're going to be learning how to make a COVID-19 mask right here at home. Let's start by going over the things you'll need. First is a standard cotton blend t-shirt. This one is from H&M. It's pretty basic. We'll be cutting the inside of the mask from this. Next up is a dishcloth, what you will cut the outer fabric from. This material is really good at filtering because of how densely woven it is. The only better material you could get for the outside would be an actual surgical mask. After that, you're going to want your basic sewing supplies, a pin cushion if you want, a needle, scissors, thread, and elastic or string. Lastly, you're going to need paper cutouts for your face mask. These you can get online if you just look up face mask paper cutout. I got mine from a site called The Crafty Quilter. They print true to size and you'll be good. They most likely have some instructions and measurements printed on them. You can pretty much ignore that and just use the cutout. We'll go over the correct folds and seams later. Those are all the ingredients you're gonna need. Now we'll cut the fabric. You're gonna need your 2 paper cutouts, your outer fabric, the dishcloth, your inner fabric, the t-shirt, and some scissors. You'll also want some pins here as well to properly secure the fabric to the paper. Then pin the paper to the fabric and simply just cut it out. Boom, there you have it. And yeah, it's a little messy on the edges, but let me rock. I promise you it won't matter in the end. You're gonna want to do that once more on the dishcloth, and then 2 more times, using the same cutouts on the t-shirt for the inner layer. And now you got all your cloth. So, after you've cut the cloth, you can start sewing them together. First, you want to take the 2 cutouts of dishcloth and pin them together along the outwardly curved edge, so they perfectly align on that side. This side is going to be the front of the mask. It's totally fine if the other side doesn't perfectly match up. As long as the curved side is pretty synced up, you'll be good. Now we're all set to actually start sewing it together. Start at one end of the curve, leaving about 1/4 inch of a margin from the end of the fabric. You want to keep this 1/4 inch margin from the edge all the way down the curve as you sew through it, until you reach the end of it, leaving a 1/4 inch margin at that end as well. So now that you've connected the 2 curved sides of the outer fabrics, you've got the front of your mask. Next, just repeat the same steps for the curve of the inner fabrics, the t-shirt. So now we're going to sew these 2 fabrics together and then flip them inside out, which sounds weird, but it's not as complicated as it seems. The first step is placing the outer and the inner fabric on top of each other, with the protruding seam on both sides facing outwards. We're going to turn this into the inside of the mask eventually. Pin them together along the top and the straight bottom. This time, we're going to sew along both the top and the bottom without leaving the 1/4 of an inch margin. Now you've got the outer and inner fabric fully connected on the top and the bottom. What you want to do next is reach inside and pull it inside out like you would do with a sock. Once it's fully inside out, you should be able to see the mask almost in its final form. It should have some relative 3D shape to it. Now, you've got the mask in its shape, but you really need to secure it down with some more sewing. What you want to do next is flatten it out, getting it as wide as you can, and pin the top and the bottom as tight as they can go. Thread the needle through, this time as close to the edge as possible. You'll notice it's a bit harder to get the needle through this time, and that's how it should be. You're going to do 4 layers of fabric instead of 2. After this, the fabric should be a lot more secure, and the mask its real own piece. Lastly, we're going to move on to the string that's going to hold our ears to the mask. So you're going to want to cut the top and the bottom of the t-shirt on the right side of the mask back about an inch. This doesn't mean you're cutting the dishcloth, just the inside of the mask, the t-shirt fabric. You should be able to roll back the now loose white fabric, making the inner side of the dishcloth exposed. Pin this roll back and sew the fold, making sure you're only securing this roll of white t-shirt fabric and you're not also sewing the dishcloth underneath it. You want to keep the tunnel in the middle of your mask, in between the two fabrics open. Next, roll or fold the dishcloth fabric back as well, so that there isn't an exposed side of fabric that will get frayed of wear. Pin and sew this fold, which should end right where the t-shirt fold begins, still leaving that opening through the mask, unblocked with thread. After this, we're going to create the ear straps. If you're using 2 pieces of thread for each side, 4 total, just sew one end of the first thread to the top of the dishcloth fold. And then on that same side, sew one end of your second thread to the bottom of the dishcloth fold. In this video, I'm using elastic from a basic construction mask, which I feel like works better. And you can actually use the construction mask later. So if you can find that, that's great. What you're going to want to do is rip off the elastic and cut it so it is about 3.5 inches, or the same length as the side of your mask. Sew one end of the elastic to the bottom until it feels pretty secure, fold it over, and sew the other end to the top of your mask. You're going to want to do this on the other side as well. And there you have your face mask. This works perfectly fine on its own and is a great face mask, but I prefer to add a little extra layer of protection if I can, in between the dish towel and t-shirt fabric. So to add this extra layer of protection, you could take the construction mask that you took the elastic off of for the ear loops and slide it into your face mask. This might be a little bit difficult, but you can fold it up as long as it's facing in the right direction. The metal at the top can act as a securing placement for your nose, and it should give the mask some shape. If you don't have a construction mask, you can also use vacuum cleaning filters, paper towels, even coffee filters. All of these materials do a really great job at blocking COVID-19 micron particles when they're put inside of a mask like this. After each use, you'll want to throw the inner filter out and wash your fabric mask, but then right after that you can put a new filter in for the next use. And there it is. Thanks for watching. Keep your head up and stay safe.